Welcome to the Level Up Lifestyle, where we tell the real stories of people who overcame and elevated. In today's episode, Mike sits down with agency owner Matt Carter. Matt takes us along his journey, from dropping out of high school to jumpstart his career.
There was these guys that were 19 years old, driving skidders, working in the log industry, making $100,000 a year.
To confronting insurmountable troubles in his personal life.
Man, why am I sitting around feeling sorry for myself? What is this doing for me?
To finally discovering the secret to climbing to the top.
It's okay to let go.
All of this coming up next on the Level Up Lifestyle.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sheets, coming to you live from Globe Life Studios in McKinney, Texas, and we got a great show on deck. With us today is Matt Carter. Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Matt, you are an agency owner with our company, and you are based in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes, sir.
And you have an office in Los Angeles, California.
Yep.
And how long have you been with the company?
Just about to hit my 13-year mark this year.
Okay, going on 13 years. Yeah. And how long have you been an agency owner?
That'll hit 9 years this year.
9 years. Wow, that time flies, right? Yeah, I remember you becoming an agency owner and going out and looking for office and getting started. So
yeah, it was kind of a moment today where I was putting in a guy's for coming to 101, had him send me his date of birth to book his flight. And I was like, man, this guy was 10 years old when I opened my office.
Wow.
I've been doing a little bit.
Yeah, we're getting up there, right? Getting up there. So you got a great story, that just what you've come through in your life and your successes and adversity challenges that you've overcome to become who you are today, and just experience a tremendous amount of success as an agency owner. So as you know, kind of the idea here on the Level Up Lifestyle podcast is to just highlight that journey. Where did you come from? What was your experience like when you got here? And how did that help you get to where you are today? Because we've got a lot of people listening to this. There may be some people either watching us on our YouTube or on one of the podcast platforms while they're riding around. You know, we may have people that are thinking about joining this opportunity, just interviewing. They're not even here. We've got some people that are probably just getting started and they're in field training and they're wondering, what did they do? Like I did 18 years ago and you probably did 13 years ago. And then we may just have some people that are, from other parts of the world that are listening in and, they can glean something out of that experience. They can relate to, hey, I was in that spot. I've been through that. So I'm excited to get into it. You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So tell me the Matt Carter story. Where does it start?
Well, I was born in Arkansas. Grew up in a very small town, population 3,000. And I would say I grew up poor and I grew up rich.
Okay.
I grew up poor in the sense that my family didn't really have much money, but I had a wonderful mom and dad, kind of won the lottery on that.
Yeah.
Great loving family. And learned a lot of lessons, things that really, really, I think made me who I am today and had a big impact on being successful later on in life.
Good.
The work ethic of my dad, the personality and try anything aspect that my mom brought to it. So a great blend and just great support and people that, even though they struggled and had ups and downs and there was even a time that they lost everything and my sister and I had to live with my grandparents. They were always positive.
Wow.
And that's,
that's not always easy to do in that. Yeah. When you say, growing up in a poor economic sense, you don't always get positive role models coming out of that, right? Because there's a lot that can go into that. So what town in Arkansas?
Sheridan, Arkansas.
I don't know where that is.
It's about 35 minutes south of Little Rock.
Okay, gotcha. So what did your parents do for work when you were a kid growing up?
So my dad was a mechanic.
Okay.
He was a diesel mechanic. He had done that for years. And my mom, once I was born, was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
Because, neither one of them had more than a maybe 10th grade education. So a job that would cover the expenses of daycare just didn't make sense. But I think I was very fortunate to have that and get a lot of stuff that came from having a stay-at-home mom. But they like I said, they struggled. My dad, but they got to a point where we were all in school, and my mom went to work, and they were getting things going, and my dad was going to step out and open up his own business.
Okay.
And it went really well. He had a lot of trust. A lot of people came to him for their service needs on their big diesel trucks. But my dad also didn't have a lot of business acumen and let a lot of people build up credit to fix them so they could keep going in their business. And then he didn't get paid. And then next thing you know, they were bankrupt. And that's where they lost everything. And they had to build a shack pretty much on my grandparents' property. And they lived in a little 1-bedroom shack with a bathroom while my sister and I lived with my grandparents until they could get back on their feet.
So was there a moment, obviously I'm sure that is one of them, but prior to that, maybe as a kid where you kind of realized, hey, we're in a different economic sphere than, maybe some other people.
Yeah. And, it was really kind of maybe after that, honestly, because I was in elementary at that point.
Oh, okay.
But when we were getting we'd got back to where they got us a trailer, and we were back all living together. And it was probably junior high where I realized that there was other places than Walmart you could get clothes, and that other kids had stuff that I didn't have.
Yeah.
And so I instantly wanted to have those things. And my parents said, well, you get $100 for school clothes. That's your budget.
For the year?
For the year. So
$100 for the year.
$100 for the year. So do you
That's not even going to buy a pair of shoes anymore, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It was, do you want a pair of those Jabot jeans and a Hilfiger shirt that you're going to wear the same one every day? Or do you want to go get your clothes at Walmart? I'm like, I'll go get a job.
Yeah.
I want to start, I'll mow yards. So my dad was like, okay.
So how old are you at this point? Were you
13?
Okay.
13, 12, going on 13.
But had you noticed just the work ethic of your father at that point?
Yeah.
Is that what motivated? Because some people, it's like, do you accept it? Oh, wow, we're in this situation and I don't get to have these things. Woe is me, versus I want to go change something about it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a step stool when I was 5. They had me washing dishes at that. So they started me working early.
Yeah.
So there was always chores to be done, always things to be done. I'm like, well, I'm used to doing work and doing these things. I see my dad work. And I know if I want money, I need to go to work.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously only 12, 13, so I can mow lawns. I have to do that at the house all the time.
Yeah.
Let's get paid for that. And my dad was like, all right, well, you want to start, what are you going to mow them with? I said, well, your lawnmower. He said, you're not going to run my lawnmower into the ground. He goes, I'll let you use it to mow your first few. You take the money, you can't spend any of it, and then you buy your own, and then you're going to pay me back for the gas you used for mowing those lawns as well.
Wow.
So I said, okay, So I mowed a few lawns.
How long did it take for you to be able to afford your own mower?
I think I had to mow 4 or 5 to get a nice snapper with a grass catcher on the back. Okay. And then I was off and running and was going to everybody's house. They needed their yard mowed and trying to get as many clients as I could because, I wanted the things that other kids had.
Yeah.
And that led to doing that until I was 14, and they helped me get a work permit. I started working at a small little restaurant, washing dishes, bussing tables. Then got on at Sonic at 15, and I was assistant manager by 16.
Wow.
17. Yeah.
Wow.
I was going to other places and doing training and stuff like that. And yeah.
So what's this motivation? Is it just to be able to have the extra things that a kid wants, but the parents aren't able to provide? Or
yeah, that was it. I didn't. High school's tough.
Yeah,
and and if you don't have things, you can be left out to the side because you don't have things.
Yeah,
and I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to fit in with everybody, so I was motivated to do those things. So I'd always played sports growing up, but I gave up sports to work 32 hours, the maximum I could as a 16-year-old to, buy my first. I bought my
working
first
32 hours a week when you're 16.
Yeah. Yeah. And I bought my first truck with my parents co-signing when I was 17 years old because I didn't want to drive the old beat up truck that I was given. I wanted to have a new vehicle like the other kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's where it all started. But also with that, I want to have a lot of fun too. I was, I want to be the cool kid. So I also didn't maybe put as much emphasis on school. My parents didn't graduate. Maybe it's not that important. So made some poor choices along the way and ended up, working in the woods. My dad, when he was a mechanic, he did it for a logging company. So I ended up working out in the woods, doing logging, running a chainsaw, driving a skidder, hard labor.
Did you finish high school then?
Not.
Okay.
No.
So high school doesn't work out. What do you think at that time? Were you thinking, like you kind of said, well, your parents didn't, so what's the big deal? Or like, I'm just going to go and work and enter life, or what's going through your head at this time?
There was these guys that were, 19 years old, driving skidders, working in the log industry, making $100,000 a year. And I was like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I want that. I started out at Sonic making $3.25 an hour.
Yeah.
What minimum wage was back then.
Right. $100,000 back then is a lot too.
Yeah. In a small town where the cost of living is so low. I mean, these guys had big trucks, all the cool stuff, I wanted to be like that. And then I got out there and I realized, that's a pretty rough life. And
hard
work. Yes. Very hard work.
Labor intensive, physical.
So, I decided to do something different, maybe getting, into, a warehouse job where I could move up and do something like that. Well, so I did that. And after 3 years, I was like topped out. There was no increases. Only thing left was being the head of a department. The heads of the departments, they had all been there multiple years. Nobody was going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was like, maybe school is important. I think
How old are you? How old are you at this point?
I'm 20 at this point.
Okay.
Yep. So I decided at 21 that I'm going to go take the ACTs and try to get into college. Well, I ended up scoring high enough to get a full paid scholarship for community college, not a 4-year college. But,
sure.
But
hey, it's paid schooling, right? That's a big deal.
So I'd really kind of shifted my mindset at that point of like, hey, I don't want to just work to work. I want to do something more. I want to do something that's going to be able to really, at that point, really still more about me.
Yeah.
To be able to give me what I want in a better life. You know?
Sure.
And so I did that and got into the restaurant industry to kind of work around the school schedule and worked and made really good money. I was making $50,000-$60,000 a year, waiting tables, bartending.
Early 20s, that's good.
In my 20s in Arkansas and talking 18, 19 years ago. So I finished school, and after 10 years, because I changed majors a few times, I went from medical to business.
You did not get a doctorate.
Yeah. And so I started looking for that career. I knew I wanted something more. I wanted something that maybe I could have my own business. I didn't know if I wanted that to be a restaurant, bar, because I'd been doing that for a decade. And, so started going all these, I had emphasis in marketing. I was trying to find something that was going to give me the skills to learn how to market and build something of my own. But all the job offers I was getting fresh out of college were like 35, 38,000, and I was making 60,000. So
working in a restaurant.
Yeah. So no desire to take a step back. I was really focused on just that marketing aspect of it. And after about a year of interviews and not finding anything, I decided I needed to stop being so selective and just open it up, anything business related. Because there was always one thing that I said I wanted no part of, and that was insurance. my mom sold insurance when I was in junior high.
Okay. And what was that experience like, seeing her sell insurance when you're in junior high?
Like a year, and it was all in the home.
So she's going to people's houses and everything.
A lot of low income areas. She bought a little gun to carry in her purse.
Oh,
she's
wow.
a little 5'2", small, petite woman going into all these rough areas. And I was like, well, I didn't get a degree to go to, sell life insurance in people's homes where I feel like I might be in a bad situation. So definitely not doing that. But then someone in the restaurant that I worked in went into an interview with Globe Life with Jason Everett's office.
Okay.
And they were like, hey, this is not what I'm looking for, but there's a guy in our restaurant that I think would be a tremendous fit for you. Can I put him in touch with you? And
so you guys had talked like everything. Hey, I'm looking for something different, or what?
Yeah. And so went in and met with Jason, and ended up I waited on him and his leadership the Christmas before there. He remembered me, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, and so we started talking, and good conversation, kind of seeing about the company. I was like, "Wow." I think this, even though I said this is not what I wanted, anything to do with insurance, but at that point I was open to anything that might start my career. And I was like, wow, I think this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Did you ever ask Jason years later why he didn't just recruit you at that Christmas party? If you did such a good job.
Right. That's the question I'm going to ask him next week at the agency owner.
Yeah, I think so. Right. Yeah, we'll be sitting on the beach in Punta Cana and say, hey, why'd you make me wait that 1 year? But it is, I mean, almost like when you think about, okay, if you want to offer this opportunity to somebody, who knows, maybe that person is going through something in their life or they're looking for something and you don't know, right? I mean, you come into a restaurant, here comes Matt, he's doing an awesome job, you're really good at what you do. You might think, hey, he's not going to want to change, he's really good at what he does. What you don't realize is that you're thinking in the back of your mind, like, I need to get out of this, I need to find something, there needs to be more, there's something there. So don't, I'm not saying Jason did, but I think the lesson is just don't prejudge that, right? Just share the opportunity, right?
Yeah. Everybody in the restaurant is looking to get out of there at some point.
I would imagine. Yeah. So luckily, I never had worked in the restaurant industry. I've always heard that if you work in the restaurant industry, it's a life-changing type of an experience because it just teaches you so much, but it's also something that people typically try to get out of at some point. They don't want to be there forever.
It's like, hey, I want a weekend off.
Yeah. Well, because you don't get that.
No.
Right. So what was that kind of that change in your mind? Because, really from age 13 until, now you just, I just work, right? You want something and you got to work for it. Mm-hmm. So was there a moment where you just thought maybe that's what sent you to college or what sent you, out of the restaurant industry of like, I don't want to like just work forever.
Yeah.
Hard work isn't necessarily the key to success. It's hard work in the right place. Like, when did that evolution happen for you?
Yeah, I mean, that was the kind of the decision of like, hey, I need to go to school. I need to, do something different. I want to be in a position where I don't just have to work hard, all the time, but I can work hard smarter and be in a position where I can have something of my own. I didn't want to just work for someone. I wanted to have something that was mine.
Yeah.
And so that's what I saw. I was like, I'm going to be working for Jason and Liberty National, but I'm building my business in this company and I have the ability to potentially have my own agency.
Yeah. So what was your experience like in the beginning when you first came on?
Well, I'd really grown, throughout college and in the restaurant, being very confident. I'm in front of people all the time, speak with people. So I'm like, oh man, this is going to be easy. Yeah, this is easy. I'm going to kill this. I didn't kill it in the beginning. I struggled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Or what do you think contributed to that?
I think I thought I had the confidence, but I didn't have all the knowledge. And then I had some fears about being told no, because I don't know, I guess everybody has a little bit of fear. Nobody likes to be rejected.
Right.
And so, I kind of had to, take a step back, tell my director, unit manager at the time, what that was like, what I was going through, the struggles I was having. And it just was really him sitting down and going, Matt, you're putting in all this extra time. This, this, you're doing fantastic. You're going to have some people that aren't just going to want to move forward with this, and you have some that's not. And he goes, you don't need to be worried about that. And I was like, well, I'm also worried about what if I don't have the answer? And he's like, it's fine. You have enough knowledge. You're going to be good. You got this. It was having someone else kind of let me know. They see something in me as well. And then I also had it in my head like, man, I know I can do this. I just need some help. I need some direction. There's other people around me. They're doing this. They're not any smarter or more talented than I am, and they're successful. If they're doing it, I can do this.
So was there any one thing that helped you start to figure it out, or was it just time, or was it realizing you don't have to have all the answers? You just like... It
was kind of that combination of all that. It was the time. It was the getting more comfortable. It was realizing I didn't have to have all the answers. It's okay to be able to say, if I'm not 100% sure on that, I want to check with my director and make sure I get the right answer to you. And knowing that was okay. If I've answered everything else and if just build on my confidence that I'll get this. And then it started happening. I started closing cases and it was like, okay, that's, it was the time. I don't think anybody really comes in and just takes off. Mm-hmm. In anything you do, when you start something new, you're learning, you're practicing, and it took some of that, and it took the right mindset as well. I knew I had the work ethic. I knew I could do it. I knew I'd put in the time, and the positive mindset. And it was just taking that and putting in the time. I always say there's 2 reasons that someone's not going to be successful in this is they're not prepared mentally, and they're not putting in the work.
How do you prepare yourself mentally?
My wife tells me that I got a little bit of that character from Inside Out, Joy.
Okay.
In me. I just see the positive in everything.
Yeah.
I at some point, I can't pinpoint a specific time of when it happened, but many years ago, I just was like, why do I get upset about things? Why do I let things bother me? It doesn't do me any good.
Yeah.
And I need to just let things go. Focus on what I want to get to, what I want to accomplish, what was the good in the day. And I made a mind shift before I started with Globe Life. And I just kind of live by that. Like, I'm not going to let any bad thing keep me down.
But not everybody lives their life like that, right? I mean, a lot of people, they get stuck.
Yeah.
And they can't get past something. And I mean, you're exactly right. It's not even the obstacle that's holding you back. It's your inability to get past it in some cases. So was there something that happened that helped you see that? Or is it just everything, all your experiences? Or how did you make that change? Because I know there's some people that are like, hey, I need to make that change too. How do you make the change?
Yeah, I definitely some life experiences and things that happened in my 20s, going through a bad first marriage, and just kind of opening my eyes to some things. And like I was a little bit sheltered as a kid as well. We did a very strict, church upbringing, and so it was some eye-opening things. And then going through.
So would you say like you had in your mind, like, this is how the world works. This is how it needs to be.
Everybody's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And not everybody's good.
And they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I had some hard times after that. And I just was like, man, why am I sitting around feeling sorry for myself? What is this doing for me? It's not doing anything for me. So I just made a decision in my head, like, I'm not going to let these things keep me down. And I talk about it all the time. We with our office, with the agency, you either have the victim mentality or the victor mentality.
Yeah.
And which one do you want to be? Do you want to blame everybody else for not being able to get what you want, or say, I don't know if I can do this, or do you want to focus on the positive and have a can-do mentality? Yeah. And so that's just a mantra, of what I live by. I don't focus on the negative.
Well, it's a good thing, and it's a hard thing for people to do. So, as that new agent, going through those struggles and finding your way through that, was there a moment though in the beginning where you just thought like, it ain't gonna work, right? I don't know if I can do this anymore. Yeah. So, I definitely had those times that I quit in my head. Yeah. Just never actually went in and did that, because early on, I don't know, maybe, somewhere around my 8th week, I had a check that was like over $2,000. And I was like, man, okay. I've never. So you're chasing that down. I've never made close to $2,000 in 1 week. I've had some really good weeks in the restaurant where I made like 13, but not 2,000. Yeah. So it was like, if I can do this once, I can do it again. So yeah, there was times where I had 4 weeks that just didn't go very good at all. And I was like, maybe I can't do this. Maybe that was luck. And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You're going to. Let's get back in. Let's re-engage. Let's, keep giving 100%. I never really disengaged, but it's just keep giving that 100%. It's going to happen. Re-energize yourself. Yeah. And so I really had what I would say an inspiration of, I want to achieve a 6-figure income. I want to do things that other people in my family have not done. I'd already, got a degree, something that my parents had not done. I wanted to make them proud as well, and I wanted to show my son that, you can do anything. So I had that drive. I wanted to make this a career. Well, I'd made that decision that this was going to be my career. I saw the future in this. Yeah. And so when I had those hard times and struggles, I just focused on, okay, you got this. But there was also times I got knocked down, stepped into leadership pretty quick, had some good success in that first leadership role, quickly moved into a director role by my 13th month in the company. And I thought I'd arrived. Man, I'm a director now. And I think I kind of went into it with a boss mentality.
not a leader mentality. I led, transferring skills as a supervisor. I had trained people in the restaurant.
But you're not really leading in that. You're leading. Managing or, right. right.
Yeah. And so, it was like, I'm kind of the boss now. And I had some poor leadership qualities that I didn't realize I had, of telling people what they need to do. I mean, I was still working hard, but I was not showing that I cared. And nobody cares how much you know unless they know how much you care.
Yeah, sure.
So, I ran people off, and I became an AD team of one. So I realized I was obviously doing some things wrong. And, and I went.
Everyone quit.
Yeah, everyone had left me. I'm leading no one. I'm no longer.
You're on a walk. Yeah.
So I go to Jason and we talk through some things and kind of figure out where I need to make some changes. And he goes, "Well, I got a supervisor that's not really gelling with his AD. You want to take a chance with him and see what you can do and build this back up." I said, "Absolutely. This is where I want to go." And I really changed my mindset to not so much worrying about telling people what to do and looking out for me. That was another thing. I was looking out for me. I was protecting my check. I was more focused on myself than I was my team.
Yeah.
And I made a shift and made it where I cared about them and what they were going to accomplish, what they were going to do. And I realized real quickly that when you show people that you truly care about them and you make everything about trying to help them achieve their goals, people don't leave you. People come to you. They want to stay. They want to be a part of that. They want someone who's trying to help them be better.
Yeah.
And it went quickly to
you almost become a mentor in a sense to them, right? They see you as somebody who can get them to where they want to go, not just telling them what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that grew the team pretty quickly. And before I knew it, 18 months into an AD, I have 7 SAs, a team of 30, number 2 AD in the company. I'm getting a phone call from Steve.
And what was the call?
Wanted to know if I had interest in becoming an agency owner.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that answer was absolutely yes. I'd already kind of been thinking about it at that point. And so that was the next journey of, want to get out there and have my own. That's what started the journey of going to school, and so it's like, hey, it's all come to fruition now.
So what was it that was inspiring you to move on? Because that's a big transition to go from being an agency director. You've got a big team. Like you said, you're the number 2 in the company, right? So you're making good money. Things are going well. You're in your home state, right? Family's there. And if you want to go be an agency owner, yes, there's an upside potential to, it's not guaranteed, but there's a very large upside potential, but you also have to move. You got to go across the country. You're not going to be around family. You said you had a son at this point, right? So, there's a lot of variables in that. So why get out of your comfort zone and go for that versus just be comfortable where you are living a good life?
I've always been someone who chases a little bit of like, hey, I want to do more. If I achieve this, I want to achieve more. And so I wanted that. I made that decision that I want that. And not only did I want to become an agency owner, I wanted to jump out and go somewhere that was far away from everybody else and plant my flag and be like, hey, I can, watch me grow this kind of mindset. And so I did. I jumped out. The closest office to me when I moved to Phoenix, Arizona was Austin, Texas. And so I wanted to plant the flag on the west side.
You're in your own time zone.
Yeah. And make it happen. And I was like, if there's one thing I know, I have determination, the right mindset, and I have the work ethic. I know I can do this. So was ready to jump out and do it. And I think it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
What made it so challenging?
You don't realize how much work it takes to build a business until you're building a business.
Yeah.
Especially
Jason is a top performing agency owner. It's a well-oiled machine. He's got staff, offices all over the place. You are coming from a functioning enterprise at this point.
to a about a one-man show.
You're on the frontier. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, I loved it. It was a challenge. And we started seeing great results. I mean, I was putting in the time, the effort. I had my hands in everything. I was doing everything.
Sure.
That's kind of what you got to do when you're starting something up. You got to have your hands in everything. And it was going really well. I was married at that time to not my current wife, but someone that, really wasn't as good of a relationship as I thought it was, and things started really imploding. And what was the good traction I had in my business kind of started crumbling in 2018, just 2 years into it, because of a really bad relationship. And at that point,
so what are you thinking at that time? Because you've moved out here you are, and it's not going well. Relationship's not going well. Business not going well.
Yeah, it's just me and my son. Everything, that's all there was, and I got nobody to lean on. There was a lot of things that went bad in the agency at that time from the fallout, because she worked in the agency as well, and it had me questioning whether I should go back to Arkansas. And maybe
what would that make you? I mean, what's the feeling at that point in the decision process you're going through?
That everything is falling apart around me, and I don't have any family. I don't have any support. I was making a lot of trips back to Arkansas, and then and I kind of got out of that positive mindset. I was looking at all the bad things around me, because there was a lot of bad things going on, and I'm like, what are you doing? I had to stop myself and go, what are you doing? And going home and having some time with family, and getting some refreshment from that, and and made some big changes. I'm like, all right, I got to go back. I got to stop thinking about what happened and just focus on what I'm going to do, because this is what I want to do. This is what I want to grow. It was going great. It can get back to going great. So I had that mindset, but really, I think it was having some real true support that really added to that. Because shortly after that, going through a divorce, about 6 months later, I met my wife, Kelsey.
Yeah.
And she was from the state, family out there. I mean, I couldn't have found a more perfect person. I could say now maybe my journey and everything through life led me to Arizona to find that person.
Sure.
That is my rock. That is, someone I can always lean on, someone who has my back. And that's important. You got to have that. We talk about that with someone coming in, you got to have support from someone else.
You're beyond your back, have your back, not beyond your back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, I think that was kind of the trajectory of like, everything kind of fell into place. And now it was like, all right, let's grow, Is there something that you're telling yourself every day as you're going through this? Once you it sounds like you made the commitment, like, you know what, I'm going to do this. We're going to make it through. We're going to grow. Is there just a kind of, it's a daily reminder that you give yourself, or something that's helping you push through those challenges? So I kind of always, like I said, I just had this inner desire to want to prove I could do something, coming from small town, poor family. Yeah. Just this strong desire to prove, to show people I can do this, wanting that validation, you want people to like you. Oh, that guy's successful, those kind of things. And that's what it was in the beginning. But then it turned into really seeing how tremendous an opportunity like this is, and then really having the desire to make an impact in others. The first evolution of it was the woman who cried on the phone thanking me when she went through cancer, that I took the time to explain that she would have lost her home without the coverage.
Wow.
And then seeing other people have those aha moments and having their first check over $2,000 and things like that. So it really turned into this inspiration to help others. I want to help someone else have those same changing things that's happened in my life. And that's where that drive just kind of evolved into, just really focused on that. But I'm also been a guy who's, all right, well, I got the most experience, so I got to get in there and I got to do everything. And so I wanted to help people, but I was also really focused on trying to do all the things that I felt was going to help them the most. And I needed to have control of these things. And this is what's going to work best. And, it did work really good for a while, but there comes this point where you have to empower other people. I'm telling all, I'm going to help you get here. I'm going to help you get here. But hold on, I'm holding some of the strings.
You can't do it all.
You can't do it all.
You can't do it all.
Yeah. And that was a shift that happened a few years back.
Well, you said something important too, that once you made it about helping other people achieve what they want, that's when, I'll paraphrase you, but that's when things really started to go. And sometimes, as a leader, you're thinking, okay, I have goals that I want to achieve. There's a business goal that I want to hit. There's a lifestyle goal that you want to hit, income, all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. And sometimes in leadership, it's like, okay, if you're trying to drive your people towards your goals, that's not inspiring.
Right.
I'm not indebted to you in a sense, right? If you're my leader, it's when you just stop and say, okay, what is it that you want to do? Where do you want to go? What can I do? If you're in the field, you're talking to somebody like what you said with the cancer protection, taking care of families, right? Yeah. Getting them what they need, right? Working with a new agent or somebody in leadership on your team. What did they want? I mean, don't you feel like that's the big lane shift? That's the catalyst that takes people from one level to leaps and bounds beyond, is when they make it about other people.
Right. And it was my director who kind of opened my eyes to that. Chris Jackson, when he came in and was my director, he's like, Matt, you're doing fantastic. You got a lot of great systems. He goes, but you're doing everything. He goes, let me help you work on your business, not so much in your business. And I was like, that makes sense. And he goes, you're limiting yourself right now.
Yeah.
You're the only one that's doing anything with hiring. You're the only one that's doing this. He goes, you're maxed out. You need to start empowering your people more. What are their goals? Where do they want to go to? And I was already focused on helping them achieve things, but I didn't realize I was also kind of limiting by not empowering them.
Yeah.
And so started making those shifts. And now it's just kind of this continual evolution of trying to help empower other people that same way. We got some, I've put some habits in place for myself that I really try to teach and empower my leadership team with, just certain things that I stay focused on.
So what are those habits?
So one is the habit of no snooze.
Okay.
Another is...
So what is that?
So 57% of people hit the snooze. By not doing that, it triggers things in your body when you hit the snooze. You go through the heart fight or flight thing with going off. It affects people's mood. It's also just lost time. So, focus on, I know how much sleep I need, 6 hours of sleep. I never hit the snooze. I get my day started earlier. And with that, I like to think, well, I get an extra 2 hours a day in that way. Over a 5-day week, that's an extra 10 hours. And if you multiply that out, it equals exactly 13 extra weeks. So
an entire quarter.
An entire quarter.
If you played a game 5 quarters and the other team you're playing played 4, you'd probably win most games.
Right.
You'd have to get pretty far behind if that didn't help. Okay.
So, I really, try to get my people. I was like, you may not be a 6-hour person. You may need 7 hours, but that's an extra hour. That's extra 6.5 hours.
So what are you doing in that extra hour every day?
That's my most focused time. I'm in the office every morning early. I'm getting the things that I know have to be done, the most important things, knocked out. So that's kind of the second thing is having things pre-decided, focused on, doing what matters most. That's, first.
Yeah.
It's not, growing is not just about being busy. It's about focused on the things that matter most and being busy in those things. You have to allocate that time. And so that's one of the other things we really talk about is putting things into buckets. And what are the things that only you can do? What are the things that are going to make the most impact for your team? And that has to be the things you focus on. And so that's where that focus comes in on that. And then, each year I try to give up something that I can maybe never do again.
Okay.
Handing off those things to empower other people where I can be more impactful in the areas that I know that I need to be
aspects of the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know what's most important for me is being able to coach, mentor, lead, and really spend time with my leadership team, helping them continue to develop while I also continue to, try to raise my lid as well. So letting go of some things. The analogy I use with my leadership team is asking them, how do you climb? And get a variety of answers anytime I do this with someone.
How do you climb, like up a mountain?
Climb? Up a ladder, up a rope. How do you climb? A lot of times, you got to use your hands and your feet. That's the most common answer I get. Well, I tell them the answer is you have to let go. Because the only way you put the next hand above the other one to climb up is you got to let go.
Yeah.
And so as you grow in leadership, you need to let go of some of those things because you can't do everything, or you become the cork in the bottle and nobody's going up.
Can't reach higher if you're still holding down here.
No. So if you're leading a team and you're trying to hold everybody's hand to do everything, well, you got a hand over here. You only got one hand. How are you growing? You can't climb up.
Yeah.
You got to let go. You got to empower people to do things. So those are one of the things that we focus on. The others are always not making the easy decisions, but the hard right decisions.
Okay.
Easy decisions, it's easy. It'll fix itself. We need to have hard conversations with people. We need to show them we care, and we need to, when they're maybe going in the wrong direction, sit down and have a conversation.
But how do you do that? Because people really struggle with that because of how it feels, the connotation, it's just, it's a hard thing to do. So what's the strategy? How do you do it?
So we have accountability, like the talk for every position.
Okay.
Not just the agent, but there's one for the SA, there's one for the GA, and we really focus on you first leadership. So that plays into it. If I'm always worried about, what I need you to do, I'm not leading you. I'm trying to push you. We focus on, hey, what are your goals? Where do you want to be? How can I help you get there? And then having those accountability talks focused on them. If they're not doing all those things, it makes that conversation now kind of easy because, they've already know that you care about them and that you.
I'm just getting you to where you want to go.
Yeah, I'm getting you to where you want to go. Yeah. How can I help you get there? You committed to doing this, and this isn't happening. What's going on? What So it's having it in a caring conversation that's really helping move the needle. You got 10% that are never going to make it in anything, 10% that are going to succeed in anything, and the 80% in the middle that we want to pull up. You're not going to push them up. You're going to pull them up. And so that's where we really focus, and it makes that talk a lot easier. And in really coaching through that, my leadership team is getting to that point where they like the talks. They're getting more and more comfortable with those talks, and that's been a big change that we've put in, this year.
Good. So what's coming then for your agency? How are you going to let go where you are and pull to the next level and keep growing and experiencing success? Because you've set new records just about every year, right? In your organization. So how do you do it the next year and the next year and the next year after you've won in the prior year?
Yeah. It's not losing sight of where each person wants to go. It's continuing to, not just go, okay, I've put these things in place. Now I'm going to let it go. I'm going to stay just as engaged as always. That's my responsibility, and empowering more people to be able to achieve their goals. That's where it has to be. I tell everyone, guys, when it comes to leadership, you're always going to get 100% from me. You're always going to get 100%. There's never going to be a time you'll ever walk into the office. I don't care if you come in at 6 a.m. or 8 p.m. when I'm there for late night call clinic. You're never going to walk into the office and find me sitting at my desk with my feet on the desk reading a magazine. Yeah. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Because it's my responsibility to make sure everyone in this agency is getting what they need. I have the ultimate responsibility. So my philosophy is, when you promote to the next level, the reward is you get to work harder. There's no point where you promote to the next level and you get to put your feet up. That's retirement.
Isn't that the opposite of what people think, though, a lot of times?
It is.
They think, now I've made it now. Okay.
And that's why people will fall backwards in that. It's someone who's going to continually do the right things, who's going to consistently do what others only occasionally do, who's going to be that great leader that's going to inspire people. You have to lead from the front. Nobody wants a boss. They want a leader.
Yeah.
They want somebody that knows, cares about them. So, it's that kind of focus is what I have. I always say when I retire is when I put my feet up,
Was there a time in your career where you felt like, oh, I'm here, I've made it? And then that came to get you?
that first step into the director role, way back in Jason's office. I thought I'd arrived.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized that was not the case. But yeah, you step into that next role and you have more responsibility. Your reward is you get to work harder, but you get more reward. Mm-hmm. That's the part they got to focus on. You get more reward from that. You're going to impact more people. You're going to continue to grow in your career. And so those are things we talk about as far as being focused on. The other's mindset, positive mindset. That is so key. And those are.
But how do you keep the mindset positive? What's the secret or the factor for you in doing that?
It's having inspiration, not motivation.
Okay.
Because motivation is great. We all need motivation, but motivation will go away. If I want to work hard to get the money to buy this boat, well, once I got the boat, that motivation.
The motivation's gone. Yeah.
So we talk about inspiration. You got to have that why, that strong inspiration that's internal, because motivation will go away, but inspiration, that's not going to be taken away from you. What is internal, inspiring you, that's going to always be there. So you got to have that strong why. You got to know why you're inspired to do what you do. And that's a major factor.
So how do you do that? Is that an internal reflection? Is it if somebody's listening, you're like, well, okay, how do I find my inspiration? Maybe I want something, but how do you stay inspired?
Yeah. So it's finding that why is you're looking at the things that are not going to go away, that are always going to be there. Is that family? Am I doing this for my wife, my kids? Absolutely. That's a huge inspiration for me. That's something that's always going to be there. I want to show, our kids what is possible. I want to make things better for them than they were for me. Mm-hmm. All those kind of things. It's the inspiration of truly caring about people. I truly, truly care about people. And with that, I have an inspiration to help each person achieve their goals. And if you're given 100%, I will do anything I can to help you get to where you want to be. So it's going to be different for each person. But a lot of people, when we go through that exercise, we talk about what inspires you. A lot of it is family. It's the major one. Because I want to make this much money. That's more of a motivating thing. And so it's finding that thing that's always going to be there.
But then you get to a point, then it's almost like the inspiration comes from helping other people get to that, right? To then see somebody in leadership that is getting to that level and paying it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really, the thing that I focus on is helping. How many people can I help be in a 6-figure income? How many people can I, if I keep raising my lid, because I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts like these and doing different things, because I want to continue to raise my lid to help that person that's in my care grow. And that's a big driver for me is, getting someone to that next level. I want to do things that are going to help someone become an agency owner just like I've been able to do. I want to see that for multiple people. And that's kind of the big driver.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Matt, you've had an incredible journey when you really think about it. Do you ever, when you're interviewing or talking to new people or seeing new people as they're coming into your agency, do you ever see yourself in people and want to pour into them? Does that keep you motivated with with the ability to change lives, and you maybe see somebody who's gone through a variety of the phases of where you've been at in your life and wanting to say, like, I know what's on the other side. You can do it.
Yeah. That's a big driver for me in putting together I really, really try to focus on putting great content together for our Monday meetings. I don't want to go in there and just go over numbers and talk
check
about
the box and all that.
Yeah. I really want to bring value. I want to maybe say something that impacts that person who's in their first week with us. It may be the same place that I was in.
Yeah.
And going, is this going to be my career? I don't know. I'm here. And maybe that's that person that I say the right thing that stands out to them. So I try to really, that does. I mean, I put a lot into getting ready for that meeting because I want to be able to move that needle forward, be able to help someone else and help them find their inspiration, help them get to where they want to be. And if I can do that, then that's where it's getting legs. And if I'm helping my director make a change that helps their GA makes a change that then is passed down to an essay, then to an agent, and now we got legs. It's really growing. It's really doing things. But also share my story, because I'll do that occasionally. I talk about the struggles that I had in the beginning, the failures. I've had lots of misses. I've had many losses.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure more losses than wins.
Right.
But that's how you grow from that. And I want someone to see that. I want them to see the authentic side of me. Not that here's Matt Carter 13 years into this, but let me tell you about Matt Carter year one.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Because
they're the same person as you maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. They may go, oh, well, gosh, I could never be that. I don't know if I can get there. I can't even figure out the stuff I need to do right now to get going. I'm just trying to figure everything out. So I always like to take that back and talk about the beginning and let people know I've been there. It's okay. If you need anything, I'm here.
Is that where you draw most of your inspiration from now, is setting that up for other people?
I think that's a big part of it for sure.
Good. Well, Matt, thank you for coming on and just sharing your story. And, again, I'm sure there's so much that's relatable to other people where they've been. And, I appreciate you letting everybody inside and hearing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we're done, we've got one thing left. As you know, it's the tradition on the Level Up Lifestyle as we've got all the prior guests here listening in on you as we have your bobblehead. And this is the official Matt Carter bobblehead that I want to present you with here. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's you.
I should have dyed the beard.
Yeah, right. Well, it depends on when that we took that screenshot picture to, what stage there. So, pretty cool. Yeah. So, if you just think, man, you've gone through so much and,
spot on.
Yeah. If this is kind of representing who you are now, who you've become, if you were to go back in time to one of those challenging moments, where maybe you're not sure if this is for me, or I'm not sure where to go, or what do I do? You pick whatever it is. It could be as an agency owner when you're really struggling, having to get back, being a new agent, being that AD when the first time in leadership. And you could tell yourself something at that moment, what you know now. What would you tell yourself?
Yeah, it would be early on. If I could go back to early Matt Carter agency owner, it would be, going, hey, it's okay to let go of some things. It's okay to empower others. Is someone going to do as good a job as you're doing on it right now? No. But if you train them, you coach them, you lead them, you can help them more than by doing everything for them. And so that would be the big thing is, learning to let go a little bit earlier. That's the only way you climb.
Yeah.
And so empower.
That's a great analogy. Let go to move up. Yeah.
Empower your people. And when you're struggling, just know that there's someone else who's been in a darker place than you have. They've struggled more than you're struggling right now. It's okay to ask for help, to just keep moving forward and give 100% at all times. If you have that mentality, you ask for help, and you can get where you want to be.
That's great. Well, thanks, Matt. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has inspired you on your path to success. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. See you soon on the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast.